Welcome to Life Swerves with Dr. Tangela, the place where we navigate life unexpected detours and discover how to move forward with clarity, peace, and purpose. I'm Dr. Tangela. Hey, y'all. And today's episode is a little personal. I would title it When Survival Introduced Me to Myself. Before we begin, I want to offer a gentle content notice. This episode includes a discussion of domestic violence. I will not share graphic details, but I will speak honestly about surviving a dangerous marriage. Please listen with care, especially if the subject is part of your very own story. But today we're going to talk about victory, but not in the kind that, welcomes applause and a trophy or public celebration. But it's just a victory. We just got to understand victory can be quiet. Victory is waking up and realizing, I'm still here. And sometimes victory is leaving what could have destroyed you. And sometimes the greatest victory is finally realizing the person you have been abandoning while trying to save everyone else. My victory was not simply that my circumstances changed. My victory was a survival that introduced me to myself. My former husband was sweet and kind about 90% of the time. I need to say that because domestic violence doesn't always begin with a person looking dangerous. Sometimes there are good days, there are good days, bad days on a average person bad day, or ugly day, like an average person's ugly day. But then there's laughter, there's generosity, the gifts, it's the affection. I remember how we used to chase each other around the house to put frosted on our nose. I mean, all kind of great, beautiful moments that I choose to live on versus the three bad situations that I endured. That is part of making the situation it makes it so confusing because you keep holding on to the person you experienced doing the good 90% while trying to survive the other 10%. And that 10% included the way that he act with other people outside of me. The way he act with the waitress, or the way he act with his coworkers, or the way he act with his boss. He didn't care about that man. Or the way that he act with his other family members. I never thought that it would come back home to me. But after my husband lost his career due to West Nile, he stopped taking medication and he began experiencing serious mental health issues. My marriage changed totally. I didn't know much about his condition before we got married, so I thought that hey, my prayers were gonna handle that because I'm a woman of faith. So I believed that my prayers would change him, help him, and heal him in how he needed. I I just I just believe that if I prayed enough, loved him well enough, remained patient enough, and supported him the long journey, somehow something would change. I truly believe God could heal him, and I still believe in God's ability to heal. But I didn't understand that I could not force another person to receive treatment or take their medication or accept the help or take responsibility for their behavior. There were three incidents in which I could have lost my life. Three times when the outcome could have been very different. So when I say that I'm grateful to be alive, those are not casual words. I understand that I could have become a photograph on someone's memorial wall. My children could have been left trying to understand what happened to their mother. But here I am. And being here is a victory. Let me also make something very clear. Mental illness and violence are not the same thing. A diagnosis does not automatically make that person violent. Mental health challenges may help us understand parts of a person's struggle, but it does not excuse abuse. Compassion doesn't require you to remain in danger. Prayer does not require you to ignore practical wisdom. Love does not require you to sacrifice your life while trying to save someone who will not accept responsibility for their own. You cannot care. Well, I'll take that back. You can care about what happens to a person and still protect yourself from what that person is doing to you. So when the questions turn towards me, hmm, when I survive that marriage, I thought the most important question would be, why did he do that? But eventually another question emerged. Tangela, why didn't you believe you were worth protecting sooner? That was not a question of blame. It was not responsible for the violence committed against me. I was not responsible for the violence committed against me. I was not responsible for the violence committed against me. It was a question of discovery. I repeated this last statement 3 times because there's a person, male or female, that's listening to this podcast right now, and they believe that they're responsible for the violence that was committed, and they're not. I will not tell you that I accepted his violence as my responsibility. What I accepted responsibility for was I interjected my kids with this person. That's the part that I had to take hold to. I could have got my kids in a deeper trouble, a deeper mess. But I began looking at the choices I had made, the things I had tolerated, the warning signs I did not recognize, and the parts of myself I had pushed aside. Then I realized something very painful. One of the reasons I had changed my last name was because I didn't like who I was. Now that's a realization for your butt. That realization stopped me. It stopped me in my tracks. Why didn't I like myself? Who taught me not to value Tangela? When had I decided that becoming someone else might be easier than accepting the woman I was? The question reached much further back than that marriage. I realized that I spent much of my life discovering life by hitting walls. Nobody had really sat me down and explained how life worked. I did not have older cousins or, older friends or grandparents that gave you those good life nuggets. I didn't even have a mentor or an example, anyone giving me instructions about relationships, about boundaries, warning signs, identity, emotional health, adulthood, being a mother, being divorced, none of those things. It's the real reason why I wrote my book, my first book, There Is Life After This, because after all of this that I've dealt with, I didn't have a manual. I didn't have a brochure, just like you. I know you didn't have a manual or a brochure. But some people are fortunate enough to have someone to sow the seeds in them. So then they'll be able to make a quality choice in life. I began helping to raise my siblings when I was about 11 years old. My mama worked to support us. And when she was off, she slept because she was tired. She was carrying the weight of providing for 4 children and no help from the fathers. I learned responsibility early, but responsibility is not the same as being equipped. I knew how to take care of other people, but I had not learned how to care for myself. I knew how to complete tasks, but I didn't learn how to recognize what I needed. I knew how to survive hard situations, but I had not learned that I was allowed to leave situations that required me to survive them. I felt inadequate because I thought everyone else had received a manual for life that somehow missed my address. Other people appeared to know things I was still trying to figure out. They seemed to understand relationships and social cues and decisions and boundaries. And I was learning many of those things after something painful had already happened. So I became an observer. I watched people, I studied their reactions, I listened to what they said, I read books, I looked at um, pretty much self help talk shows, and I compared it with what I knew or to know. I observed patterns because observation was one of the only learning tool I knew how to use. At the time, I may have thought I was simply trying to keep up, but now I understand that observation really became part of my gifting. I learned how to see what is happening beneath what people are saying. I learned how to identify what was missing. I learned how to recognize when someone had the ability but lacked language or the tools or the structure or the confidence. What began as a survival strategy eventually became part of how I equip people. I remember when I started saying that the military helped raise me. Because when I joined the military, I was 18 years old, and it gave me something I desperately needed: structure. I did not understand this thing called life at all. When I say nothing, nothing. I was, I remember, I remember the kid's father. He loved Schoolhouse Rock, and we bought not the cassettes, the VHS. I think that was called the VHS tapes. And we were watching, and I'm like, I was just singing the song, conjunction, junction, what's your function? Working on something and something, something, something. I, it was when Sierra was born, when I realized they was teaching me what I was learning in school. I never knew that. I just knew on Saturday mornings I got up and I was ready for Schoolhouse Rock. Didn't know I could have been an A student because Schoolhouse Rock was giving me everything I needed for school. But I never made the correlation until I was much, much older. So I often tell people that the military helped raise me, and it did. The military taught me discipline, responsibility, preparation, endurance, and how to function as part of something larger than myself. It helped me develop confidence in the woman I was learning to become. But even after serving in the military, there still were parts of me that I had not met. I knew how to be strong. I knew how to complete a mission. I knew how to serve. I knew how to take care of people, but I was still learning how to know myself. I was still learning how to value myself. I was still learning how to protect myself without feeling guilty. I was still learning that strength is not measured by how much pain you can tolerate. Sometimes strength is recognizing that something is dangerous and choosing to walk away. Sometimes strength is asking for help. Sometimes strength is allowing your no to be a complete sentence. No. Period. Dot. Nothing else behind it. And sometimes strength is admitting, I don't have the tools for this yet, but I'm willing to learn. I tell people all the time, I'm a life student, so I'm always willing to learn because I know I don't know it all. I know that there is more in a way that can make life a little better or improve the quality of my life or just doing what God called me to do. The whole reason why I was created 9/24/1970. The whole reason. But this is where we get into a good swerve. This is a good swerve. Most of my other podcasts, it was challenging swerves. Of course, there's always victory at the end. But we usually think of a life swerve as something negative, a betrayal, loss, disruption, diagnosis, a closed door, unexpected ending. But sometimes a good swerve is hidden inside the decision to live. Living survival mode became a good swerve because it turned my attention back towards me. For most of my life, I have been focused on what everybody else needed. What did my sisters and brothers need? What did my children need? What did my husband need? What did my clients need? Remember, 37-year hairstylist. What did the people I serve need? Now I'm serving veterans. Who needed help? Who needed encouragement? Who needed answers? Who needed a new plan of action? Who needed new? That's man. I guess that should have been my name. Who needed? Who needed? Who needed? But survival eventually placed me in front of the mirror and made me ask, Tangela, what do you need? That question introduced me to the woman I had overlooked while being everything for everybody else. I discovered that I was not merely a survivor, but I was an overcomer, a learner, a builder, and equipper. I was a woman capable of turning painful experiences into language, systems, strategies, books, programs, and resources that could help other people avoid some of the walls I hit hard. A good swerve was not the violence. I would never call abuse a blessing because it's never. No. The good swerve was the awakening that happened when I chose not to disappear inside what happened to me. A good swerve was recognizing that my history did not disqualify me. It revealed the people I was uniquely equipped to serve. Now I understand why equipping people matters so much to me. I equip people with what they need to become because I remember how it felt. I really remember what it felt like to be expected to succeed without being given the tools to do it. Whew. Told y'all this is a personal one, so bear with me. Bear with me. But I know it's going to help someone. I know what it feels like to have the responsibility without the preparation. I know what it feels like to walk into a situation without understanding the warning signs. I know what it feels like to question yourself because you do not yet have the language for what you're experiencing. I know what it feels like to wonder why life seems easier for everybody else. And why am I constantly hitting a wall? I want to give language before before the confusion. I want to give people tools before the crisis. I want to give them clarity before they abandon themselves like I did. I want girls to recognize their value before another person defined it for them. I want women to understand that compassion does not cancel boundaries. I want veterans to recognize that a transition does not erase their experience or value. I want leaders to know that they can readjust without believing they had failed. I remember this one veteran in one of our classes, and I had to leave the class because it had touched a soft spot in me. He said, I'm out of the military and I don't know who I am. In the military, I had rank and I knew what I was responsible for. I knew what I had to do, and I got applauded for. People stood and gave attention to me. People, they needed me. Now I'm out. What do I do? Because nobody needs me. I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what to do. He felt how I felt like majority of my life. And I had to leave. And I went in the hall to recollect myself. I said, because people don't understand that. Because they so self-centered. They don't see where there are some people here, genuine hearts, don't really know what to do with themselves because the past is gone. Past experiences are gone. There's wives who lost a husband. That's all she know. That's all she knew. She wasn't by herself. Now she's trying to discover who she is now. There's that man who been married 40 some years, lost his wife, don't even know what to do with himself now because everything had been wrapped up in his past relationship. He had a partner. So he was comfortable. Do you understand how comfortable it is to have a partner that if you don't know something, they know? And you can trust that they can be your safe space. So you trust that they're giving you the right answer. People don't understand that. They take that for granted. Just like last month when I dealt with the scam, I felt like I didn't have anyone to trust with my heart, my feelings about this, or someone to even show me how to navigate it without someone telling me it's my fault. What am I going to do with that? What am I going to do? So it feels good when you have that safe person, that safe place. We have to understand that everybody is not seeing life the way we see it. So when I say equip and why I talk to different people, I read different books, I'm watching different things on TV because I want to understand all the different variances of angles that people can encounter when it comes to life. So I'm not just going to them telling them what I want them to know, and no, that is not me. I want to hold your hand and walk with you as you discover, because I had to walk by myself. Had nobody, because I was strong. Tangela, she's strong. So no one felt the need to walk with me. So I walked by myself, even though I asked for the help. Oh, you got it. Just like the thing happened last month. I really expect my friends to come to the door with some ice cream and say, girl, come on, let's. They never came to the door with the ice cream. I know one of them, if she had transportation, she probably would have. But then her butt could have Ubered over here and got the ice cream. But anyway, okay, let me get off of that. But I want people to know that they are not alone when life swerves. Life Swerves is not just a podcast title. It's not. Readjustment Blueprint is not just a program. I Matter is not just a girl's initiative. The Restoration Room is not just a healing space. These things are tools. And I built tools because I remember how it felt when I didn't have them. My life did not only teach me how to survive, my life taught me how to equip others to survive and then start living. And let me tell you one thing, sir. Let me tell you one thing, ma'am. You are not behind. Stop looking at the age. Stop looking at the pain. Stop looking at the past. I'm here to tell him that Dr. Tange told you, you are not behind. Now, at this beautiful age of 55, I'm still learning. There was a time when I might have considered this embarrassing. I might have thought, should I tell people my age? Shouldn't I have figured this out already? Should I sit here and still be dealing with? There's someone right now sitting here listening to this podcast, and you beating yourself up because you're embarrassed about where you are. Don't. You're not by yourself. And I'm not just saying that because I had to. Look at me. So I no longer see continued learning as evidence that I'm behind. I see it as evidence that I'm alive. I'm aware. I'm curious. I'm willing to examine myself. I'm willing to grow. How many people do you know you would love for them to grow beyond where they are, and they believe they are just fine, even though life is not working for them? They're just fine. Some of us learn survival before we learned identity. We learn responsibility before we learn self-care. We even learn how to serve people before we learn how to establish boundaries with them. That's how we end up drained. That's how we end up depleted, and they're not reciprocating any of it. That does not make us failures. Failures. I don't know where I get fellas from, but that does not make us failure, y'all. It simply means some of our learning arrived out of order. You're not too old to meet another part of yourself. Come on now. You're not too old to change what you believe about yourself. You're not too old to learn what healthy love looks like. You're not too old to establish boundaries. You're not too old to discover your calling. You're not too old to become the person you need when you were younger. You may be 35, 55, 65, or 75, and suddenly recognize something about yourself that you could not see anymore. You can live without it. I don't want that part. Celebrate the fact that you recognized it. And then celebrate even more so when you do something about it. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it slow because maybe the people in the back didn't hear me. You are not late. You arrived at this revelation when you had the capacity to receive it, name it, and do something about it. How about that? So you already know we got to have a what? A readjustment moment. A readjustment moment. So here is the Life Swerve readjustment moment for today. First, recognize what survival taught you. What skills did you develop while trying to make it through? Did you become observant? Did you become resourceful? Did you become more compassionate, strategic, independent, disciplined, or emotionally perceptive? Survival may have developed certain strengths, but remember, you do not have to remain in survival mode to keep those strengths. Now, secondly, identify what survival prevented you from learning. Maybe you learned how to work, but not how to rest. Maybe you learned how to give and not receive. Maybe you learned how to forgive, but not how to establish boundaries. Maybe you learned how to endure, but not how to leave. There is no shame in identifying the tools you're still missing. And then we have separate compassion from responsibility. You can understand why people behave a certain way without accepting harmful behavior. Their history will explain their wounds, but you are not required to become the place where those wounds are repeatedly inflicted. Okay? And then finally, practice recognizing yourself. Ask yourself, who am I when nobody needs me? What do I enjoy? What do I believe? What makes me feel safe? What are my non negotiables? What have I survived that I've never properly honored? What gift did I develop because I had to find my own way? And then we're going to turn what you learn into a tool. Your tool may be a conversation, a book, a program, a boundary, a prayer, a class, or even a support group, or simply the wisdom you give to your children. Your pain does not have to become your identity, but the wisdom you gain can become part of your contribution. So today's reflection question is, what part of yourself did you meet because you survived something you never should have had to endure? Not why did it happen? Not why did I deserve this? But what strength did I discover? What truth did I learn? What boundary did I establish? What cycle did I decide to break? What language can I now give to someone else? Take a moment and write your answers down. And daily, read your answers because you might discover something else. Don't minimize this. Don't say, oh, I was just doing what I had to do. I said that quite often. You survived something that could have taken you out, and you're still becoming. That deserves acknowledgement. So, I created a little declaration. Repeat after me. I am not what happened to me. I am not the name someone called me. I'm not the pain I endured. I honor the person who helped me survive, and I welcome the person I am becoming. I release the belief that strength requires me to tolerate danger. I can be compassionate and still have boundaries. I can pray for someone and still protect myself. I can love people without abandoning myself. I am not behind. I am still learning, still growing, and still becoming. My survival is not the end of my story. My survival introduced me to my strength, my wisdom, my voice, and my assignment. Clarity is restoring my power. Alignment is restoring my peace. Structure is restoring my momentum. And now that I realize myself, I will not abandon myself again. All right. I hope I said it slow enough for y'all to write that down because I want you to definitely declare that every day. Declare that every day over you. So, in closing, I'm not celebrating the domestic violence that happened to me. I'm celebrating the woman who survived it. I'm celebrating the little girl who helped raise her siblings before fully understanding life herself. I'm celebrating the soldier who gained structure and confidence. And I'm celebrating the woman who hit walls but kept learning. I'm celebrating the 55-year-old. No. That ain't how I say that. My bad. My bad. I'm celebrating the 55-year young woman who now understands that becoming is nothing to be ashamed of. I did not have all the tools then, but I'm building them now. Not just for me, but for every woman, veteran, leader, and young girl assigned to my voice. The victory is not simply that my circumstances change. The victory was that I finally recognized myself. And once Survivor introduced me to her, I decided never to abandon her again. I'm Dr. Tangela, and this has been what? Life Swerves. Until next time, if this episode if this episode gave language to your experience, share it with someone who needs to remember that surviving is not the end of the story. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and follow me at I am Tangela Harris. Until next time, remember, life may swerve, but with clarity, alignment, and structure, you can readjust and keep moving forward. Until next time.